The Battle of New Hope is one of the most infamous engagements in Imperial history. The isolated garrison stationed on the resource extraction moon of Yavin faced impossible odds against an invading Rebel Alliance fleet. And somehow they won. But the story doesn't end there. You see, if the rebels hadn't been forced to flee to Yavin, the Death Star wouldn't have been destroyed, and the Galactic Empire would have stood unchallenged for decades, right? Not quite. You see, there was another force at play during the battle for Avon 4, a mysterious presence that reached out to guide the rebels and defeat the Empire. That's right. This story is all about the Jedi Master known as Nomi-san Shadow. And to find out who she was, we're gonna have to go all the way back to the unknown regions. Before the Clone Wars, the Jedi Order wasn't entirely ignorant of the dark secrets held in the unknown regions, but they knew very little. They did know, however, that the unknown regions were home to an enigmatic people known as the Ones, a species so mysterious they had no corporeal form. Instead, the Ones existed as psychic imprints, boundless energy beings existing outside of time, space and matter, capable of influencing events throughout the galaxy. Despite being timeless, the Ones had foreseen the rise of the Sith, and their plan to usurp the Republic. With the Republic in turmoil during the early days of the Clone Wars, the Jedi Council dispatched Nomi-san Shadow and her apprentice Jedi Knight Shadowval to the unknown regions to seek out the Ones and ask for help. But much to their surprise, the Ones didn't want to help. So, why would these ancient, all-knowing beings stand idly by as the Sith orchestrated the downfall of the Republic? Well, it all had to do with balance. You see, the Ones were fascinated by the ever-changing galaxy, constantly observing events across the cosmos as a means of entertainment. Each of the Ones had their own views on galactic affairs. Some believing the Sith would bring much-needed order to the galaxy, while others believed the Republic needed to be wiped away for galactic peace to be achieved. So which side would the Ones support? It didn't matter, because neither would they interfere with the fate of the Republic. To the Ones, the political turmoil unfolding in the galaxy was nothing more than a game, and they intended to enjoy it as much as possible. As far as the Jedi were concerned, the Ones had decided not to take a side in the war. So instead of gaining allies, Nomi and her apprentice would have to find a way to convince the Ones to simply remain neutral. But before they could broker a deal, the Jedi would stumble into a trap laid by a secret enemy. Nomi-san Shadow and Shadowval were ambushed by Darth Nihilus and his apprentice, Darth Tri. Two Dark Lords of the Sith whose desire for power knew no bounds, the ensuing battle would test the Jedi to their limits as they fought to survive. And although the Jedi Master was ultimately defeated, she lived long enough to entrust her apprentice with a hidden weapon against the Sith, the Mass Shadow Generator, an ancient and powerful device created by the Jedi, the predecessors to both the Jedi and the Sith. The hope was that its immense power would prove too great for the Sith to resist, eventually destroying them. Now that Nomi had fallen, the responsibility of wielding this dangerous weapon fell squarely onto Shadow. But unfortunately, the Dark Lords had other plans for the young Jedi. After dispatching Nomi-san Shadow, Darth Tri took an interest in her former master's apprentice. See, the Dark Lord had once been a Jedi Master herself, and she saw many similarities between herself and the young warrior. So she offered Shadow a place by her side, promising to train her in the ways of the dark side, an offer that might have swayed a less resolute Jedi. But Shadowval refused, choosing to honor her commitment to her fallen master. And although her resolve impressed the Dark Lady, it only enraged her. With her apprentice's betrayal fresh in her mind, Troyo unleashed her fury upon the young warrior. Their lightsabers clashed as they dueled throughout the ship, their determination matching blow for blow. But the dark side was too powerful, and despite her best efforts, Shadowval was ultimately defeated, imprisoned aboard the Sith flagship, and left to die. But as the Sith prepared to claim victory, the spirit of Nomi-san Shadow appeared before her former apprentice, transferring the Mass Shadow Generator to her living apprentice and giving her the strength she needed to escape her prison. Free from captivity, Bao fled into the unknown regions, hiding from the Sith and searching for a way to harness the Mass Shadow Generator's power. Eventually, she would find guidance in the form of an ancient Jedi monk named Uridun, who taught her how to control the generator, finally understanding the depth of her calling. Shadow vowed to destroy the Sith and avenge her master. She tracked her former master's killers too. The remote world of Malachor 5, a desolate planet shrouded in mystery and danger. The Jedi Knight infiltrated their base of operations, the mass shadow generator in tow, manipulating events to ensure that the Sith would pursue her into the ancient ruins of the planet as surface. Once the Sith arrived, she unleashed the full force of the mass shadow generator, plunging the area into darkness. From the shadows, she engaged her former master and Sith apprentice, defeating them in a thrilling lightsaber duel. Although the Dark Lady sensed the approaching rival of Darth Nihilus, she refused to yield, continuing to fight until the moment of her death, proving that even in the darkest of times, the light of the Force will always endure. Now, you might be wondering what happened to Darth Tri and Darth Nihilus. Well, that's where things get interesting. The duo's attempts to claim the masked shadow generator failed, leading to Darth Nihilus becoming trapped in the planet's core. Meanwhile, Darth tried escape, but not without suffering serious injuries. Weakened and desperate for power, she made one final bargain with the Ones, offering herself as a vessel for one of their spirits in exchange for unimaginable power. This transformation turned the Dark Lady into something monstrous, a twisted fusion of flesh and energy, and granted her dominion over the minds of sentient beings throughout the galaxy. As the spirit of Nomi's son Shadow faded from existence, her apprentice Shadow Vow emerged victorious, but forever changed by the ordeal. The young warrior disappeared into the unknown regions, haunted by the ghosts of her past and burdened by the knowledge of the dark side as true potential. However, her legacy would live on through the few who remembered her name, whispering tales of a Jedi Knight who had stared into the abyss of the dark side and emerged victorious. Now, if you're a fan of Star Wars and all things sci-fi, make sure to subscribe for more epic lore breakdowns just like this one. And hey, show your support so we can reach more galactic adventures.